This is rare to see unless you give the doctor the camera and let them show you from their own perspective. But this is just a glimpse from one hospital of the working environment for the healthcare workers who are trying to save Americans who are trying to cling to life with coronavirus. Like I said, this is only 40 seconds. I will shut up. Just watch. Turn your sound on, but just watch. If you know.
So she wanted us to listen to all of the sounds that are going on in the ER. She's right. Those are alarms going off. And that's like stress. I mean, you hear the alarms going off from the equipment and you respond. So I wanted to share a quick story about my own mother who passed away in 2017, 2018. It was 2018 in March 10th, is when she went into the, I called the ambulance because she'd started to wheeze and she had pneumonia. I knew her symptoms. I was a caregiver for 7 years. I knew her symptoms really well. And I knew she was, that she needed to go. And when we were at the ER in 2017, 2018, we had a flu epidemic. We had a senior flu epidemic in the United States in 2017, 2018. And it never was reported as such. We had a flu outbreak, that was known. It was bad, that was known. But it was never pointed out how bad it was for seniors over all other groups. The numbers were never released. So when my mother went to that ER, her alarm went off. She was in her ER bed. I got there and the ER nurse was trying to discharge her, which shocked me. But that's a whole nother story. When the ER people came here, they didn't listen to a word I said. All they did is take her blood pressure and that was it. And I was trying to explain what was going on with her, that she had pneumonia, that she was mumbling at night. And the last time she did that, when she was sleeping, last time she did that was when she was in the hospital with pneumonia. So I knew she was heading down that path. They didn't say any of that in the ER. They just said, here's her blood pressure. Do you even want to bring her in? It's not that high. I had explained to them she wasn't swallowing her medication, was stuck in her mouth, and what was I going to do in a couple of hours if she's not swallowing her medication for her blood pressure? So anyway, in the ER, the nurse apparently got a really good reading, 98 oxygen and allegedly a good blood pressure reading. So I get there and the nurse is telling me we're going to discharge her, that they're going to discharge her. So I go up to, but then the alarms go off in my mom's room. She's got her blood pressure and her oxygen hooked up, and those, just like you heard in the video at the beginning, that doot 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 doot. My mom's alarms went off for her oxygen and blood pressure that was attached to her. So the ER nurse came in. My mom's ER nurse came into the room, disconnected them, reconnected them. They went on again. The alarms sounded again. So she just disconnected them and walked out of the room. And I was like, are you kidding me? So over the next hour, I went up to her 4 times, I think it was. Like every 10 or 15 minutes. Because I knew she was busy doing stuff. The whole time she's trying to, I guess, discharge my mom. But she has all this paperwork on the computer to do. And I finally go up to my mom and ask her how she's doing. And I hear her wheezing, and I hear her words break up when she talks, and they don't normally break up. So my mom was pretty healthy. Even she was walking 1.1 miles with me by her side. Her osteoporosis had improved to osteopenia, which means the bones had gotten better even at age 91. And the ER nurse refused to recheck her vitals. So finally, I said to her, I said, look, I need to know what her vitals are now, not what they were an hour or 2 hours ago, because I hear her wheezing. She wasn't wheezing earlier today. It's definitely not like how she is now. And she just refused to do it, so I said, can I speak to the nurse supervisor? This ER nurse went and got somebody else to pretend to be the supervisor, some younger assistant. I didn't know. She walked into the room, and she's pointing a finger at me. She was like really nervous. She goes, you're refusing to leave so we can see other patients. I was stunned. I'm like, my mom's the patient. She's wheezing. So I never got a word in, but I took my camera out to say, look, if you're not going to check my mother's vitals again, I'm going to document what you're doing. So this fake nurse supervisor that was called in by my mother's nurse puts her hands up to her face to block her face and says, you don't have permission to film me. HIPAA violation. She yells out loud, HIPAA violation, HIPAA violation. She trots out of the room to my mom's ER nurse, and she calls a code gray on me. And the code gray is combatant in the ER. So all these nurses, I hear the sound of all these feet running down the hallway to our room. And they've got these stances that like they're there for war or something, like this, you know, arms folded, not there to help, but to deal with a combatant. Total abuse. I'm in the corner in tears. I got a security guard standing over me. I'm not going anywhere. And for 20 minutes I begged them, would you please just check my mother's vitals, please? And they refused. Not one of these nurses walked up to my sweet, loving 91-year-old mother who's in her ER bed to even talk to her, to just listen, to even put a stethoscope to her chest. The doctor never came back in. Who I begged to, they didn't do one thing I asked. And they demanded the video I shot be erased. And I told them, look, I don't care about the video. Just check my mother's vitals. You can erase the video. They erased the video and they never checked my mother's vitals again. And then they forced us to leave. And basically, this is a violation of a law called EMTALA, E-M-T-A-L-A, which means you cannot discharge a patient if they're in decline. Because the reality was, I don't know how she got a 98 oxygen when my mom first got there, but she was nowhere near that. And I know because I took her to an urgent care from there after we got dumped in the rain, and after the security guard literally yanked on my mom's ankle like it was a chicken bone because she was too exhausted to get out of her wheelchair when we were outside by the curb. And I couldn't do anything to him because they already called the code gray on me. If I touched the guy, they'd say, see, we called the code gray on him, and then he got violent. So I couldn't even defend my mom to this monster. Anyway, I took her to urgent care. She had a 90 oxygen, and she was wheezing. But they wouldn't call an ambulance. And by now, I didn't know what was going on. I had a code gray on me. I thought I was going to be arrested when they called the code gray. I heard the sound of all these feet coming down the hallway. All these nurses just refusing to go up to my mom. Do you know how scarring that is? Anyway, I bring all this up because Rachel Maddow, MSNBC, they are politicizing COVID-19. They did nothing in 2017, 2018 in relation to the flu epidemic that we did have. 60,000 seniors died. I believe the number may have been double because the death certificates were being inaccurately filled out. If somebody died from the flu, the autopsy could read natural causes. It could read respiratory failure. It could read heart attack, which is what's on my mother's, heart attack. She died from pneumonia. Her lungs were full of mucus when she died at home because I couldn't get anybody because I was afraid to call. I didn't know if they were not even going to let me in the ER. And I couldn't tell the ER people to go to a different ER. And her doctor even refused. My mom's doctor, the day before my mom died on Tuesday, on Monday I called her doctor and I said, look, I need her to go somewhere else. Would you call the ambulance? He refused to do it. He said, don't go back to West Hills ER. We don't go there. He literally said that. but then he wouldn't help me get her in another ER. And I couldn't have her wait in the waiting room. So my point is this. Everything going on now was violated in 2017, 2018. No masks. The ER nurse, when I said we're not leaving, I want you to check her levels, said, if you want, you can go back into the waiting room and wait your turn for my mom, my 91-year-old mom. Can you believe that? Actually sending somebody on their ER bed who's in decline and is wheezing. She demanded she go back into the waiting room, which was full of people with all kinds of flu. So someone at the CDC just decided we're not going to release the ER numbers of senior deaths, which was 83% of all deaths in 2017, 2018 during the flu epidemic were to seniors. Okay? 83%. And like I said, the number may have been higher if they actually had not used other terms besides flu. It may have been even higher. So by covering up 2017, 2018, we weren't ready for COVID now. Okay? That's what's happened. So in a twisted kind of way, the deceit that the CDC, whoever else was involved in hiding, the media, the mainstream media, they were too busy on the Mueller report, on the Mueller investigation. That's where their head was. Their head is always on politics and never on the benefit. Even now, all this concern is to kind of subliminally tell you that, your president screwed up. So 2 years ago, when you covered up the first epidemic, it was because you had to cover the Mueller investigation. Now it's 2 years later, and all the healthcare workers who are suffering and who are working in unsafe conditions and with the wrong gear, it's because you, the mainstream media, covered it up in 2017, 2018. You covered up the flu epidemic for seniors back then. So all your concern now is bullshit because it has to do with the presidential election this year. You need to take an accounting for how many stories you did not tell in 2017, 2018, and how many times you never mentioned the percentage of people who were seniors who were dying from the flu in 2017 and 2018. My mom was like a rock star. I mean, we'd go on our walks. She could walk 1.1 miles with me by her side. And actually, I was going to up it. We were getting to that point. There was an issue with her medication that nobody helped me with that I had to figure out. And by the time I did, she got the pneumonia, and she didn't live through the pneumonia, so she would have been, I think, walking even farther and loving it. But she inspired the neighborhood just to see this woman out there with her cane. She had a weight on her cane. She would pick up her cane and move it, and we would walk that way. She could walk half a mile without pausing, rest, and then walk half a mile back. I've got a picture on my back. This is her cane. Hope you can see it. It's got a weight on it, on the base. There's a weight. There's like anywhere from a half pound to pound weight, almost a pound. It was half pound to 12 ounces. Anyway, I'm just letting you all know when this is over, the healthcare workers who were working back then in 2017, 2018, they need to explain why it was okay back then to not wear masks, to just let people sit in the waiting room, the elderly as well, to not give them any priority. Were they tricked? Was it just because the numbers were covered up and they didn't realize it? Or did they know what was going on? Because that ER nurse, the only thing I can think about the West Hills ER nurse that literally caused my mother's death with the most vile and venal mistreatment you could give to any patient, let alone a 91-year-old patient, the only thing that I can think of to maybe rationalize sociopathic behavior is maybe she was told, look, we're so overflowing, younger take priority. But we're not doing that now. Now we're all worried about the seniors. And because we didn't practice really concentrating on saving seniors 2 years ago, we were unprepared this time. So not only did we kill seniors 2 years ago,